all for coming out tonight for Daddy Dialogues, where we're basically discussing my book, Someone to Call Daddy. I appreciate you all coming out in the rain. I know it's a little messy out, so thank you for that. Just to briefly explain while we're here, after I wrote my book, I received a lot of text messages, DMs, emails, etc. Just feedback on the book. And when I wrote it, it was more of a therapeutic thing for me, and I didn't realize it was going to be therapy for others. So that was like a bonus for me. And when a friend wanted to just sit down and discuss it, I was like, I kind of want to do this on a bigger scale and just kind of get into your head, see what you were affected by, and to possibly hear some of your stories as well. So that's kind of the direction of the conversation. I want everyone to feel comfortable. So we've got our little socks and shoes and a little vibe going on. I want you to be comfortable with being transparent. And of course, don't divulge anything you're not going to feel comfortable with being on the camera. But other than that, I just want you to be free. The conversation is real improv. There's no template to it. This is my first time doing this, so I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just figuring that everyone that's supposed to be here is here, and the conversation is going to flow accordingly. So, any questions with that so far? No? All right, so we're going to go around the room, say who we are, where we're from, and what brought us here. Yes, you missed that part.
I don't think I'm being as clever as I was the first time.
It's okay. We got it.
Yes. And you are?
Juice. And what brought me here was just the different perspective on the book from a male's point of view, seeing how a woman deals with some of the things that I may not have done everything that's in this book, but I probably have partaken in one or two activities. So just to see or to hear a woman's point of view from the situation is what would have brought me here.
Thank you. Mr. Dapple?
My name is Darren Jones. I'm originally from Chicago. I was invited. Like I said, I have my own issues with my own daughter. I'm here to, have put my input in the story.
Awesome. Thank you.
My name is Sol. I'm from Flint, Michigan. And since I had this book, I haven't been able to read it because someone borrows it every time I get it back. Which is good, because people see the title, and I think 3 friends of mine have borrowed this book. 2 were at the book signing, and so they both wanted to read it. But I'm a single mom of a little boy that just turned 13 last week. And yeah, on Monday actually. And I think that it's very important that we support each other.
Absolutely.
And though I haven't read the book, I figured being a single mom, I could still contribute and receive from whatever was taking place today.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tanika Jones.
Hi.
I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan, and I live in Fairburn, Georgia. After reading this book, there are a lot of aspects and different characters that I can definitely relate to. So I wanted to come out and support my sister in any way that I can.
Yay.
My name is Felicia Sneed. Bianca and I and these 3 beautiful women, and now you, we met through mutual connects, and I read the book and saw myself in it in so many levels. It's going to sound kind of weird when we talk about it a little bit detailed, but of all the books that I've read in my life, this is one book. I think I finished it in probably a day and a half. And just couldn't put it down. I'm in my office, closed door. I didn't have my book. I had my Kindle, and I was like, for real? So yeah, I couldn't put it down. So I appreciate you for extending the invite.
Thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
Hey y'all.
Hey.
I'm Kendra. I am originally from Flint, Michigan, by way of Beecher. And the book is great, and I piggyback off of what Felicia said. Saw myself in a lot of these reactions to the men that Bianca dated in the book. And I don't want to say I feel good about having somebody to have those things happen to but
Somebody can relate.
somebody can relate. And it's a lot of stuff I want to ask because I've been waiting for this moment.
Yes.
That I didn't necessarily want to ask at the book signing. So I'm excited to kind of see where this conversation goes to, even though we live together, to see where your head is at with some of these characters.
Okay. Awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
Hi,
Hi.
my name is Lori Robinson. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm here because Bianca's my sister, and I have some other sisters here. But the book for me, there's a lot of things that I kind of forgot about, some of the scenarios, some of the situations that happened to me in my past, and me reading it kind of triggered some thoughts and memories. I'm like, I remember. So it really made me reflect more on what happened in my experience and growing up and dealing with some of the things that you had to deal with.
Awesome. And we're just going to shout out our videographer behind the camera, Brother Tony Mace, for being here. He can't really give an introduction, but I appreciate him being here to document this, more or less. So what I'm going to do, I had some questions I wrote out to kind of start the conversation, but again, it's just a template. I kind of want the conversation. If you think of some, or like Kendra said, you have a question about some, please let me know. We'll just kind of go with the flow. And anybody could answer the questions, for the record. So my first question was, when you picked up the book, what were your expectations of it? Like, what did you expect to get just from the title or something you might have heard?
For me, because I was primarily raised by my mom and my grandmother, I feel that 47 years old, I've always been looking for a daddy, right? So I was trying to glean from the title, you know, maybe she's kind of gone through some of the things that I've gone through, trying to figure it out, you know, building a relationship, you know, being left at 2 years old, you really don't have that foundation of a father and what that looks like. So I was really intrigued by the title itself. So that's why I couldn't put it down. That's really why I can't. I have to tell you guys a story about the pink jelly shoes, but that'll come later.
Well, don't forget about the pink jelly shoes.
I won't.
I thought it had a double meaning.
Okay.
A lot of times we address our significant other as daddy. Women do that, and also missing the father figure in our lives, we have a tendency to either withdraw from that title with a man or to seek that out in a partner. So that's what initially came to mind when I read it. I thought it was kind of a double meaning thing.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
And for me, to be honest, I thought it was something like a sugar daddy, or, you know, the supporter, you know, that kind of direction. So I had no idea it was that direction. But when I first saw it, that's the first thing I thought of. Then when I started looking at the picture, and I said, well, maybe it has something else to do with it. But that's the first thing I thought of, was like sugar daddy.
Nice.
The first thought that came to my mind was the lack of father figure, and just searching for that. Period.
Fellas, what did y'all think?
I really didn't think anything because, you know, for me, I always feel like, you know, as a black man, it's my job to teach the next young man how to be a man. So that's what I do in life, you know what I'm saying? I just thought that's what this book might have been about.
Okay. All right.
I thought it was about a young lady seeking for security. You know, just what the title said. I mean, that's what it is to me. Someone to call daddy. Somebody to not necessarily replace the father, but to fill a void. So that's from the title. That's what I got. And so, you know, and having kids, it was for me and my son. Well, my kids are boys. So to hear it from a female perspective, you know, was something that intrigued me. Like, I want to see what they were thinking, because not growing up with my father, well, he lived in the same city. I didn't see him all the time, you know, so knowing what I went through and my reaction to it, I wanted to see what, you know, a female's perspective was. So.
All right, that's good. My next question was, why do you believe this dialogue that we're having is necessary?
To correct the mistakes for the ones coming up. So if I could tell my homegirl, my little mentee, hey, be careful. I'm telling you from what I know, to look for certain things and to address some of this stuff now. Because even though this is happened back then, some of these men are 40, 35 right now. So
20.
that I may not
18.
have encountered, yeah, that I may not have encountered yet, but I can see that they're out here.
Yeah. My thing is, people say you can't miss something you never had. It's not true. I didn't have a father in my life, my biological father in my life. And I know psychologically, I missed that. You know, you think about your father walking you down the aisle when you get married. I didn't have that. My godfather, who's also my uncle, he did that. I long for that. Therefore, I miss that. You know what I mean? So, having a father in your life for a woman is necessary, whatever that looks like. So.
I believe having a father in your life sets the tone as a woman for how you're supposed to be treated and respected going forward in your life, and it determines some of the relationships or situations that you get yourself in. So that lack of sometimes inhibits you. Sometimes it's not the best scenario for you as a young woman going through these times and ages.
I think any dialogue about good parenting is important. I mean, wherever the dialogue is, let's have it. Just, you know, it's important, man. I think mothers and fathers are important to both boys and girls.
Absolutely.
I think that balance is important, and sometimes we also need each other that have successfully raised children alone to assist others. How did you do it? What did you do? You know, they turned out okay. Well, I seek out other male figures for my son. You know what I'm saying? My DJ, one of my best friends, Juice, been on FaceTime with my son all day, hooking his computer up. You know, you got to find those figures to put in the child's life so they still understand when they become a man what's expected of them. And you know, I just think any conversations we can have about good, healthy parenting is important.
I think this conversation is, I think it's very important. Because, and others that we need to have, not just in our community, but in communities, period. Because there's a lot of things that we all deal with that a lot of times you might just think it's you. You know, like, oh, I'm going through such and such. Not knowing that your brother or your sister or whoever that you're in contact with, it happened to them. But we so comfortable with, you know, I'll take it for the team, I can deal with it, I can heal from it, I can make it through it. That only if you realize that, had I said something or just asked a question, then I could have had the support that I needed. And a lot of people don't have people that they feel comfortable and they can open up to. I'm fortunate to have a couple brothers in my life and sisters as well that I can just, if it was a day I just felt like crying. Yo, today is not a good day. And they're there to support me and not judge me, and I can deal with my emotions. But not a lot of people are able to have the conversation like, yo, I done had failed. Who want to admit, hey, I done had 50 failed relationships. Whoa, what's wrong with you? Ain't nothing wrong with me. You know what I mean? I just dealt with them in a way that I probably should have told me from the book. I should have just went on my first gut and just say, yo, this is the truth, and deal with that. And I think us as people, period, we'll compromise so that we can be satisfied for that moment. and a lot of times that's not a good place to be in. I was having a conversation with my son, and my son is 15, and he's talking about different little girls he want to date, how he want them to have goals and ambition and about their business and completing their work. He want their grades to be a certain way.
Absolutely.
And his aunt told him, I think you reaching too high.
What?
I think you doing too much. Because in right now in school, a lot of people are not thinking about that. And I told my son, I said, don't you lower your expectations. I said, because if that's what you want, you hold on to that and you don't settle for nothing. So when you have a conversation with a young lady, you want to know, ask the questions that you want to know. You know, how are your grades? What is 1, 2, and 3? I said, because a lot of people lower their expectations and they are unhappy. I said, that person that you're looking for, and you 15, not that you looking like that, but he's very mature for his age, so he thinks on a whole nother wave pattern. But you know, no, don't settle. Hold on to what you want. That's important to you, you know, and you should never settle. I think a lot of us, including myself in some situations, we have settled. And once you start settling, you kind of start talking yourself on off that cliff a couple more times. Oh, it can't be that bad. Oh, it's not this. Oh, it's what I'm thinking. I might be wrong, but you're not. And in the end, you always find out I wasn't wrong. Well, hello, God gave you that. You knew you wasn't wrong to begin with.
And you know what? And with that though, you settle, and it's not really for you. You're settling because you don't want to hurt the other person's feelings. You're compromising yourself for sake of their feelings. And, you know, that is selfless, but it's selfish too. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's a double-edged sword when it comes to that.
Because you don't get a chance to really be real with who you are.
Absolutely not.
Because
And that's not fair.
And you know, I was reading this and in the book, and you were saying how you were gonna be everything that he wanted you to be in that situation, and it was gonna be perfect. And just through life experience, as I was reading it, I didn't know where you were going at the time, but it was like, yo, that's not gonna work for long. Because one day the real you want to show up. It's like, you know how people get lions and tigers and bears and like, oh, this is my pet. There's still a lion and a tiger, so one day he just might show up. You know what I mean? But you get tired of faking. It's like, yo, just accept me as I am.
Or not.
Or not.
Or not.
And I'm cool with it. You know. So.
Oh, goodness. Okay. That was awesome.
I wish you needed these lights on.
The next one was, did anything or anyone in the book resonate with you? And of course, why?
I'll say for me, I'm currently experiencing the soldier episode in my life. It is eye-opening. Sometimes I do agree with him that you feel like you're the only person that's going through a similar situation. Age doesn't make a difference, race doesn't make a difference. And just from reading your book, I can definitely relate to the situation and trying to understand how do I deal with something like that. A person that I've been open with, seen with, done with, and then just disappears. So yes, I can definitely relate with that character. And I look forward to resolving that situation.
Can I ask you a question? I mean, I don't know if we had that portion.
Go ahead.
But okay, when that happened, when the soldier piece happened, did it take you back to a time of being left alone? Did it make you feel? And I'm just asking. Did it take you back to a place of, yo, I remember when my father left. Now here I am again. Somebody just left me. Or another situation. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna go all the way there, but you know what I'm saying. So did it take you back to that place when that happened?
That situation, the main thing that it did for me is it made me angry that I allowed someone else in. Because with the soldier, I had already told him what I had been through with my fiance in relationships before. So it's like you already have the foundation of, you know, the hurt and the pain that I've experienced, and you're supposed to come in and remove all of that. And for you to know that and to do even worse to me than anybody else has, like I was just like, and it was ironic because I wasn't upset that he was gone. I wasn't upset that he had disappeared. I was upset that I didn't know why, because I never got that explanation. And like I said, just upset at the fact that, you know, you knew what it was and you came along and just added on top of that. So I guess, with what you're asking, it wasn't necessarily a thing of, you know, that void or missing someone, as much as it was, you were supposed to love me. And you were supposed to love me in the way that I expressed to you I needed you to love me. So I can kind of relate that to how I felt with my father. Like, I just wanted you to love me in the way that I expected you to love me. And not to say that he didn't love me, but in my mind I have expectations of what my love looks like, and that wasn't being fulfilled for me. So that would kind of be, I guess, the common thread of my relationships. Like, you didn't love me how I needed you to love me. You didn't love me how I needed. And all of y'all are following in that suit of what I needed, if that makes sense. So, hope that answered that.
I guess to piggyback on that, I also related to that too, as well, and to my father. Being a product of divorce as well too. My father was not always there. And the same similar things. It was like the high and I love you and and then it's like gone. And then as an older adult, now that my father's in my life more, it's still like, how do you move forward when I needed you to be there? I needed you to be that person, and then you disappeared. So how do you do it?
It's a great segue to the pink jelly shoes.
Yes, pink jelly shoes.
So my mom and dad, they were divorced when I was about 18 months old, 2 years old. And I really didn't have a memory of my father, my biological father. And my mom, she has never said anything negative about my father. Nothing. Just that he's not here. He's not here. 1 year, I think I was about 8 years old. He and my uncle, they were living in who's from Ohio? Came down from Canton, Ohio, and he wanted to see his daughter. And he bought me a pair of pink jelly shoes. First time he ever bought me anything that I could recall. I wore those shoes until they split. Y'all know them jelly shoes? Y'all get running at them hot. They get hot and then they... I wore those things until they burst and would not let my mom throw them away. I held on to that. I was like, my father, this is what he's giving me. So that means he loves me, right? So I held on to that, thinking that maybe he didn't leave because of me. Because as a youngster, you don't know. You don't adult stuff. You don't know that he's not there because he ain't getting along with your mom. You're thinking that he's not there because of you. So I held on to that. And so from that point on, I've always looked for a father figure. Now, y'all know my story. I've been married for 23 years. My husband and I, we've been together for 15 and 17 years old. So it's a different dynamic than what this is. So I really didn't have these type of relationships, right? But what I got from it was someone to call daddy, and hoping that my husband, my Boaz, would be that boy that I've missed all my life. And, you know, we have struggles. You know what I mean? We have issues because he can't be what I want him to be when I really don't know what I want him to be. So this book, although I couldn't relate as far as relationships are concerned, but from knowing that, yeah, you can miss something you never had without my father being there, I still learned from it. I grew from it. And I use this, and I'm using it because I'm a director of youth. I mean, you talking about your mentees. So I can use this knowledge to help these young babies, these young women that are going into womanhood, to help you realize how to dissect it, how to remove yourself from the equation first and foremost. Because you also have to look at what relationship your man has been or has had with his father. You had to go to the nucleus. You had to go to the foundation. And so when my husband and I had some issues, I had to ask him, I said, do you like your father? I love my father. No, do you like your father? So we had to drill down to some of those dysfunctions there to make me realize that I'm not getting from him what I thought I needed. Does that make sense? So this book was really good. It's therapeutic for me on a lot of levels. Because even though we've been married, I've still had relationships, emotional connects with other men. And it has been some of this. You know, physical and emotional to me are two entirely different things.
Right.
Emotional connects are probably, it is. It is. And some of those things I had to share with my husband. Because this is what I'm looking for. You're not giving it to me. You know, because I'm so independent, a lot of times he couldn't handle it. So I had to make him understand I'm not that 15-year-old little girl anymore. I'm a whole grown woman. I've grown. I know what I want. You're stagnant. We have kids. So you want to focus on them. That's not what I want to do. I love my boys to life. But I love me more because I can't take care of them without taking care of myself. So this book has been very therapeutic for me.
Thank you. Anybody else? Darren, you got some input?
No.
I wanted to ask, I was just curious, how many people in the room actually had their dad in the house?
That's a great question.
That is
Wow.
profound.
Okay. So what does that look like for y'all? I mean,
Well,
Oh, stick 2 out of 8. Yeah.
Well, my perspective on that is, having a father in the household sometimes is just as bad as not having a father in the household if he's not giving a positive example of what a father is. My parents were married until I was 7th grade, but he checked out long before that time due to drugs and alcohol. I had a mother that was, for a while, for the kids. Do it for the kids, do it for the kids. You know, she want that father figure in the home. And I literally can remember telling my mama, like, enough is enough. Like, I'm sick of seeing y'all fighting. Like, that's not what I want. Like, I know what you're trying to do, but this ain't cool. So, on one hand, I was a daddy's girl. Nothing he could do was wrong. Until I started getting older and seeing, hey, I don't like how you treat my mama. So I started forming my own opinion, because just like your mother said, my mother never said anything bad about my dad. Only thing that I saw bad was what I saw.
you saw. Exactly.
She never allowed me to say, or made me feel like, okay, well, your dad isn't your dad, or your dad isn't a good man. It was always, did you call your dad? Did you check on your dad? No matter how he was absent and why he was absent. So it was more of a double-edged sword. I got my dad, I knew what he was capable of, but he chose for his own selfish reasons not to be that. So it was a lot of resentment, which in return turned to be a lot of these acts in this book. I knew better, but I didn't have my dad saying, hey, what you doing? This ain't what you want to do. So sometimes having a dad there is good, but if he gonna be there, he need to be there whole himself, because he can take more from you than, you know, actually just being away.
That's a very interesting perspective, because I was married, and one of the things, and I filed for the divorce, but one of the things that was hard for me was leaving my kids. Well, I shouldn't say leaving my kids because I've never left my kids, but not living in the house with them. But the conclusion that I came to in my mind is I didn't want to show them a dysfunctional marriage. I didn't want them to see that. You know what I mean? So at the time, and sometimes, I mean, we just living, and sometimes you make the wrong decisions, sometimes you make the right decisions, and I didn't want to make the wrong decision. And so with that, I never, not having my dad in the house with me, live in the house with me, that's something I cherish. I wanted to give my sons, and man, I can't wait to have kids so I can grow with my kids in the house. So as a man, that's something that was hard for me. But at the same time, I didn't want them to see what was going on and how I felt. You know what I mean? So that's interesting to hear you say that, because like I was saying earlier, sometimes we don't know what each other going through. Me and you live in the same house. I didn't know that you felt that way. You know what I mean? But just by having that conversation, it helps me deal with, because a lot of times, even now, still being away from my sons, that ain't the easiest thing. I'm one of, and I hate to say this, but I'm gonna say it. I'm a real father. Like I love my kids. I love my sons. They call me, they need me, I'm there. I want to be after school and at the game and at the parent-teacher conference and all that good stuff. You know, that's me. That's something I long for, because, like you said, not having your dad, your vision, or what your I can't remember exactly what you said, but anyway, what love is and what your father is supposed to be. My father wasn't living up to my expectations. You know what I mean?
Set your own.
Yep. And then I realized later, as I got older, having a conversation with somebody after my dad had passed, having a conversation, no, it wasn't after my dad had passed, but having a conversation with somebody else helped me understand why my dad wasn't there. And I wouldn't have wanted them to be there if I knew that was going on anyway. I don't want to be around, nothing like that. So it allowed me to heal and forgive and understand and move on. And you said, how do I move on from here forward? Being an adult and making some bad decisions, it helped me understand, like, and not saying this right or wrong, because I'd rather my dad have been there than chasing money. To a kid, time is everything. Money don't mean nothing. I don't care if I'm broke. A few of us, I can't speak for everybody, but a few of us grew up poor. Anybody know where 9th and Lion is? That's where I grew up. So you didn't know you were in the ghetto.
Right.
You didn't know. All I care about is I want to see where my daddy at. I want to see him. So being older and getting and seeing him be a better grandfather than he was a father, it meant so much to me. It meant so much. Every promise that he broke back then, it didn't matter to me. Because to see you do what you do, it showed me the kind of man that you wanted to be, or that you thought you were being. You know what I mean? And a lot of I've noticed that a lot of grandparents, and it's not to say it's bad or good. Everything don't have to be bad or good. It's just what it is. A lot of grandparents kind of make up for what they wish they would have done with their kids, because they were young and busy trying to make the right decisions as a young adult who didn't know no better. You know what I mean? So it's like, if somebody was to hold me accountable for the mistakes I made, or my sons, I would be like, man, I was young, I didn't know. I got married at 25. I shouldn't have been married at no 25. You know what I mean? So it's like, I can't speak for your dad, and I don't know the situation, but if he's trying, it's better than, my dad didn't know his dad, and I found that out when me and my dad were having a conversation when he was in the hospital a few weeks before he passed. So he didn't know how to be a dad to me. What was his example? You know? So, you know, if he trying, I know it's hard because I've been there where what you telling me when you tell me you're gonna be there at 6 and the game start at 6, I want you to be there. But if you don't make it, dang man, it crushed me. It killed me. But being an adult, to see you trying, man, it mean the world to me. Because yeah, I can't get back them promises, but at least you trying to be a better person. And all we have, one day I might fall, and I would hate for my sons to cut me off with conversation or just period, because I made a mistake, you know.
I think with that though, I get how you feel, because at the end of the day, you're still the child.
Yeah.
I just was having a conversation with Juice not too long ago. It was me and my dad, we've been at it the last 2 months. And he's been trying. He is the dad that he should have been in the shaping of Kendra the woman. So he's going over and above and beyond being a dad, which I tell Bianca all the time, like, so weird having like a dad. Like, even though he was there when I was younger, he was Mr. Mom, because my mom worked long hours. My dad worked in the shop, so he had a set schedule. He was doing after school and pick up, drop offs. But you missed the chunk that molded me. But now, you know, you're around. But when he do mess up, I still feel like 11-year-old Kendra. That's some therapy that you have to continually have, because my mother always told me, as parents, you have to be, I don't have any children, but she always tells me, as parents, you have to be careful what you do to your children, because you can make or break a child.
Absolutely. That is so true.
And no matter how old you get, you still are a child. That's still my dad. So I get it's hard, but it's as my mom would say too, when it comes to marriage, it's a commitment to the commitment. If you want to commit to growing the relationship, it's going to have its bumps in the road. Because I know I'm not perfect. And I feel like, you know, a lot of the things that my father does is very selfish. But I know a lot of the stuff I do is selfish too. So in some ways, I'm just like my father. So, and that goes to what Juice was saying, like, hearing my dad in his soberness, hear about him talk about my grandfather, stuff that I didn't care to hear, because I thought my grandfather was the end-all be-all. I thought he was the perfect man. I thought he was the perfect man. And hearing some of this stuff, I'm like, oh, no wonder why you out here acting like that. No wonder. So as children, you know, we hold our parents up to this, they're our world. But they still people too.
That's what
and
I was about to
I
say.
hate to
Yeah.
and as I'm hearing this, I'm like, dang, but they people too, and they got the right to mess up. As long as they apologize, know where they're wrong, and mean it. But yeah, they gonna mess up. They gonna not show up. They gonna do that. But again, you just hope that is reciprocated with you too, because one day you gonna become a grandparent.
I think that's why I go so hard for my children.
But you're a mother. Not to say anything.
Not just because I'm a mother, because I know what it felt like. Like, I played sports. My parents, both my mother and father, never came to my games or practices. So I'm at majority of my kids' games if possible. And I have multiple athletes, so I try. And everything that they try to do, I try to be a part of. I try to be supportive. I am a parent of kids with special needs as well too. So it's a different aspect than, not to say quote unquote a regular child, but I go over and beyond because I know what it felt like to be disappointed. I know what it felt like to not be there and not be supportive. So I try, even if my one being, even though it overwhelms me sometimes, I try to go the extra mile. So I do relate. And I do try to forgive my father. And I can say that he's a better grandfather than he was as a father to me. And me being the only girl, that makes it total difference. You know, it makes a total difference. So it's a work in progress on both sides.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a little tidbit with that though, because I don't have any brothers. I was my dad's boy. I was the sports and all that other stuff. So he didn't really feel a lack of not having a boy because I enjoyed that. He missed games. He missed me getting my varsity. He missed all this stuff. But one thing I maybe a recommendation for you, it is not a game that don't come on now that me and my dad are not on the phone
Right.
talking. And I can appreciate it more because it's like, yeah, I had all those games and stuff like that, but having family members like Bianca, her dad is no longer here. That's a constant reminder. Our dads are brothers. I don't ever want that opportunity as we get older. That day is coming sooner than we think. I hate to think about that, but I don't want it to ever be a time I'm like, damn, I should have called him.
Don't have regrets.
It wasn't that serious. My hurt was validated, but
We're here now.
did it mean that I didn't move on from this situation or harbor something that could have been rectified?
Can I say something to both of you? Cherish your relationships with your father, because they're still here. My father was killed tragically in a house fire. But not before he had an opportunity to meet my boys. And I saw the bond that he had between them, and to your point, they are kind of overcompensating for the fact that they weren't there, or he wasn't there for me. And I saw the love in his eyes towards them, and I know that it was personified with me being the focus. Although, right before he died, his sister passed away, and we were together, and we reconnected, and we had reconnected right before I had my boys. But when the boys were born, we would make sure that they'd go down there and they'd visit them, they established a relationship, so they'd know that this is Grandpa Joseph. This is Grandpa Joseph. So when I got the phone call that he was in a house fire, at that point, I didn't know that he was deceased. I'm thinking, okay, I'll just go and I'll go take care of him, All he ever did was buy me a pair of pink jelly shoes, but damn, I'm gonna go. But when I found out he passed away, all the ill feelings that I had towards him were gone. When they told me that he only had X amount of dollars for his insurance, don't worry about it, I got it.
That's
So,
your dad.
that's my father. No matter what, I couldn't change any of that. I looked just like him. Couldn't deny it. My oldest son looks just like him. So, text your father right now. You know what I mean? Seriously. Just because we're not promised tomorrow. We're not promised the next few minutes. So.
And there's also a flip side of that. Like, I think that's why sometimes my heart goes out, like to Soul's son. That's my little guy. You know what I mean? That's me and him been spending time together since way back when. And a lot of times, I do want to be there a little more, for him, because I know how it is. And him and my sons, that's
That's his brothers.
Yeah, that's his brothers, but it's like, I kind of know how I feel, but maybe not to that extent, because a lot of times not to speak to the situation too much, but a lot of times he out here by himself, and so she do a great job with him. But my son asked me one time, he said, "Dad, why do you come to school? Why do you drop us off at school every day?" First day of school. Even living down here, I'm driving back to Detroit or flying back to Detroit. Your first day of school, here I am. That's to let you know. And he said, "Well, Dad, you don't have to do that." My son has started high school this year. I was there dropping him off. I was like, I ain't gonna walk you in and give you that kiss, but
the door is there.
But
He knew. And watching my son walk into that school, I felt so great, you know. But it's like I want to be there because I want you to know that I'm there. I might be this far away, but I'm right there, you know. And I think it's important. Fathers give kids a confidence that, not saying a mother don't, but fathers give kids a confidence. If my daddy say I can do it, oh man, I ain't nothing. Can't nobody else tell me nothing.
That is the
you know. And I can for once I can never feel his dad's shoes or his dad's responsibility, and it's not on Waz. And he's just doing the best he can as a young man. But whatever I can do for you, nephew, man, and I will. So when he FaceTime me, Uncle Juice, how do I? Come on, nephew. Okay, yep, that's it, you know. But it's those things growing up. I remember my uncle. I went back home for this past Thanksgiving. My uncle was on my heart, like real heavy, and I hadn't seen him in years. But my uncle used to live with us, and I just remember that time and just the different things that he showed me, and it meant the world to me. I tracked my uncle down on Thanksgiving Day, like, yo, where Uncle he at? Ain't nobody seen him. I found him on Facebook. He called me, I'm coming to pick you up. He came over and we kicked it and we chilled. It meant the world to me because you were a man in my life that influenced the man that I am now. And whatever way that was, you know what I mean? And I appreciate those relationships. So I think it's not our responsibility as responsible fathers, but if you can lend that guidance and that help, it's worth it because it means everything to that young man who don't have a man constantly in his face. It means so much to him, you know. It mean the world to him. So uncles are the first, and I don't like to call them stepdaddies, but uncles are the first past that line. I have a niece who I love. I call her my granny. I call her Granny. Granny was being born. I told my job I gotta go. My niece coming, and I left. And to this day, my niece know how much I love her. I tell her how beautiful she is, how much I love her, and everything. He's like, yo. And I have another niece. And my brother said, well, when she ain't gonna be so friendly because he live in North Carolina. She ain't gonna be so friendly. Man, please, I am Uncle Round. When I meet her, it's all up. She woke up and jumped in my arms. I looked at him and said, bruh, I told you, I'm not playing. I'm gonna be the best uncle in the whole wide world because this is a very important role. It's just as important as the father because as kids sometimes, you don't always think your mother or your father had the best advice. Who else can I turn to? Who else can I trust? Who else can I talk to?
Actually, that's the first person they're gonna turn to.
Right, exactly. So it's like, yo, you know, that role is just as important as being a father.
Tori, what was your relationship?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. For me, my parents were together 40 years. My father died when I turned 40. And I moved out of my parents' house at 28 years old. My relationship, I have two older brothers. One is 9 years older and one is 12 years older. So I was like the only girl, the princess. So I was spoiled. Literally, I'm not kidding you. I moved out my parents' house when I was 27 and I was comfortable upstairs. Like very comfortable.
Right.
And I got offended when my father asked me to pay my car insurance, which was $90. I was like, what you trying to say? What you trying to get me out of here? Like, I was that girl, spoiled. But my oldest brother, my mom had him when she was 16. And she got married at an early age with his father. Then they got divorced, I think maybe a year later or something. And then my middle brother, we have the same dad. My parents, I think I custody him when he was younger. I can't remember, 7 or 8 or something like that. But all I know is those are my brothers. There wasn't no half brothers. Those are my brothers. But for me, my dad was the straight breadwinner. Like, you know, he worked Chrysler, he worked at Ford. We had the best of the best. You know, I took ballet, modern dance, flute. I was in choir, I was everything like that.
Go ahead.
Whatever. My dad, we used to have date days that we go to Burger King and get the Burger King Whopper hat, and we'll go to the movies. And And when I moved away, whenever I come home, my parents, we always go to the movies, and I'm that kid holding my parents' hand. I'm in the middle, holding their hands, and I'm a grown girl holding their hands.
That's
And
sweet.
when I used to come home, I used to hide in the closet, hiding, because I'm still a little kid. Like I'm 32, but I feel like I'm 12. Right. And they'll come in the house. I know she's in here somewhere. And I'm hiding in the closet, like it's hot. I hope they find me. It's hot. Still a kid, like to the core. So when my dad died, I praise God that he died on my chest, literally took his last breath on my chest. So I had to be there. Like I asked God, please God, don't let my father die when I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, because it would not have been good. So I had to be there. So my experience, my father was, and he didn't have the best relationship with his father, and he was the only child. So he really didn't know how to be a dad because his father wasn't around. So all he knows is he got this baby girl. He had 2 boys he was raising, and now he's got his baby girl, and he's like, oh, what to do, you know? So he was even funny about like changing my diaper. Like, that's a little girl, I can't change her diaper. Like he was kind of weirded out by that kind of stuff. But my brother, one of my brothers, he had brothers on his mom's side. And I think he was the youngest on that side, so I think he might have seen some things that I didn't know anything about, you know, when he used to come in our house, because before he used to come in our house on the weekends, and my parents got full custody of him, but I think he experienced some things in his mom's household. He came to our household. So I remember one time when my brother got married, we went to go visit him, to all the family, and my father had sent him a card, and it had Daddy's name on the card, and I got offended because my father never sent me a card per se. It always be from Mom and Dad, and I felt some kind of way. I said, will you send him a card? And I kind of felt some kind of way, but then when I start reflecting, because he probably sensed and saw in his son some things that he saw when he was at his mom's house, and my dad was probably protecting him and reaching out to him, because I have my mother and father with me, and my father took the time to send him something. I mean, it had to have been something like that. But to me, I'm a young girl, and I'm like, oh, so you playing favorites? Oh, so you like him better than me? You know, I'm all in my feelings, that kind of thing. But I understood why my dad did what he did. But my mother was more the disciplinary. My dad be like, okay, because me and my mother, we would bump heads like this, because we were very strong-minded, strong with our mouth. And with our mouth, big time. Strong with the mouth, attitude, this and that. So me and my mother would go at, 15, 16, going at it. My father would just be like, okay, I'm going to close the door or whatever. So she was more of the disciplinary. And my father was a minister. He had a TV and radio ministry. So through the years, going with him, he used to sell albums. He used to do concerts, different places. And afterwards, I would be at his little table selling records and albums. This is my dad. This 45. And he named a 45 after me, Lori. He named one after my other brother. My brother used to play the drum. And my dad used to sing. And he had
Do you sing, Lori?
He did sing.
Do you sing?
I used to sing, but not now since I'm here in Atlanta. But in Cleveland, I used to, be involved with a choir or something like that. So to me, I didn't understand, because all I know is my normal. Like, I got my mother and my father. That's all I know. And so when I was growing up, experiencing relationship with my cousins, I had a really big family. And I didn't understand when certain relatives would be jealous of me. And I'm like, what'd I do? Right. I like you. We cousins. Like, what's just wrong? So I didn't know, well, because of this, because your parents got you a car when you were such an age, or you have your mother and father, that's the reason why you're able to do this, and this child see this, and they feel some kind of way. But I couldn't understand in my mind why another family member would be jealous. I didn't know. I thought everybody had a mother and father in the house. I thought everybody had a relationship. So as I got older, and like I said, I just moved out my parents' house when I was 27. So when I moved out here, just talking to other people, I never went away to college. So I didn't have that experience like some of you when you went to Eastern Michigan, a lot of experience. I didn't have that experience. So my college was moving here in Atlanta,
Right.
and experience and conversating with people like, well, I didn't know my dad, like, I didn't even know my father, or my father died when I was 10, or I couldn't relate. So to this day, I'm very grateful for the experience I had. And I thank my mom every day. Thank you for not being a crack whore.
Oh my God, Lord.
I'm true. I'm serious. My mother, I'm serious, because a lot of times when you look at people's, in the beginning, in the foundation, when you look at all these shows with what do you call the shows? Intervention shows.
Oh yeah.
A lot of them experienced because their parents was alcoholic, or their parents was a whore, or their parents was in and out of this and doing all this and blah blah blah, which caused them to respond in this way. So sometimes when the foundation is rocky, then it would reflect as an adult. And I'm just grateful. I tell my mom, I said, thank you so much for not being that woman, because she was 16 when she had a baby. So she could have went left big time. She could have been a crack whore easily. You know what I mean? So I was just glad that, when she met my dad, and he was, they called him a deacon in high school because he never drunk or smoked in his life, ever. So, yeah, I've never, seen him do that. My mother used to call herself trying to hang and all this kind of stuff, throwing up and all that stuff. And my dad just let her be herself. He would say, oh, don't do that. She's like, you can't tell, because my mother got him like, you can't tell me. So then, that's been my experience. I've never, I can't say I've ever had anything bad to say other than when he sent my brother that card. That was the only thing. And then I start reflecting like, oh, I see why he did, because he was protecting my...
So with you having your dad in your home for the vast majority of your life, how does that translate into your relationships with men, or relationship? I don't want to assume.
For me, I was always the big kid in the classroom. Let my ex-boyfriend tell it, I was this height in kindergarten. Like, I have pictures with our music teacher that was on our street, had taught all the kids, lessons, piano lessons. And we had a recital, and I'm the big kid this height, and they're this small, doing hands like this because we're doing a recital. So I was very busty and that kind of thing. So I was violated by several family members and relatives. So I started experiencing, sexual whatever at a pretty early age. So, and just exploring, and being around other women and girls that were promiscuous and, trying to be grown, trying to get in the club, and being around other cousins that was older than me that allowed us the freedom to go over their house. If you got a dude that you date, we can go over her house and have a hookup and go upstairs and be drinking and smoking. And but she's like an adult, but she allowed us to do that. And one of my family members, might have got pregnant, but she was a cousin to go to that's going to take us to the place. So she wasn't really a role model, because she wanted to be a cool cousin.
Yeah.
So it allowed me to, I can go over my cousin's house and do that. Oh yeah, we can go over my cousin's house. So I had that freedom, but I was real sneaky. I was very sneaky, and I learned that from my cousin, being sneaky.
Let me ask you a question real quick. Did you harbor any resentment toward your father for allowing you to be violated? Because I remember when my uncle, my mom's brother, he was in California, he moved home, and I would try to tell my mom that something's just something about him I don't like. I don't want to be alone with him. Don't send me over there when I come home from school. And she wouldn't believe me. Mm-hmm. And there was no penetration or anything like that, but it was still the thought of it. You're a grown man. I'm 13 years old. Why? And my mom didn't believe me, and I harbored a lot of resentment towards her.
I never shared it with anybody, and the one family member got busted. And all I remember is a big afro.
In the act of doing it?
Yeah,
okay.
Big afro, and it wasn't penetration, but it was, you know, other
Yeah, the
little
following, yeah.
stuff. So they got busted. But the other situations, I never really said anything because they kind of made it be like a game, I guess, and it was like fun, and you know, and it felt good. Actually, it's inappropriate, but it felt good. I remember Oprah Winfrey had made a comment like that when she was sexing molested. She said it felt good, and that's inappropriate to say, but it did. So it was like a game, you know. So I can't say that it affected me in such a way that I had resentment against anybody. It's just what it is. And one of them did apologize to me, and I kind of really didn't think about it because I was like, you know, we were young, you know, and I kind of just put it off like that. But I can't say it affected me unless I go to psychiatrist and maybe she say, hey, that's the reason why, blah blah blah, because of that. So I don't know if it's affected me as an adult now, but I didn't look at it as being it was definitely inappropriate.
Sure.
But not to the point where it affected me today. So
That's interesting.
That was
deep.
That was deep. I had something else for that, but y'all went somewhere else. So, what did you take away from reading this book? Huh?
I'm not the only one.
You're not the only one. Anybody else?
I struggle with this to this day, is just learning how to manage your expectations. Because if you set expectations for others, you're going to be let down.
Yes,
You
Lord.
just are going to be, I mean, it's not if, it's when. So when you set your own expectations, if you let yourself down, that's all you have to blame. But when you start setting expectations for other people, you got some issues.
Me and Soul's mom, we were having this conversation a few weeks ago.
Dang, so is mom and
Yeah, I'm around her whole
Love
family.
my family.
Her family, like, I go sit and talk to her mom. I swear I'm going to pick up a book or something. And me and Dee Dee, we'll sit and talk for hours. But and we were having a conversation, and it was about expectations. And you know, for me, I don't have expectations. I try not to set expectations for anybody. If you don't have, let's just say you in a relationship with somebody, and I don't have expectations. You free spirit, do whatever you want. So whatever you do, I appreciate everything because I didn't expect you to do nothing. So that good morning text or call or whatever it is, or you know, whatever the situation is, okay, that's dope. Because hey, you have a life that you live in. I have a life that I'm living. If I cross your mind and you decide to shoot me something or say something, then that's dope. If not, it's cool. Because in my mind, and I think I learned this, I developed this way of thinking because of I didn't want to be let down anymore. So it was like, and for me, and even to this day, I don't have to talk to my sister, my mom, my brother, my brothers. If I don't talk to you for a long time, however we got off the phone last or the conversation we had last, that's where we pick it up from. I'm cool with it. Like, I don't have to talk to you every day to know that you love me. I don't need that kind of
validation.
Yeah, every day. I don't need it. I became maybe like a loner just because of that, which is not I don't think it's a bad thing. But I don't need validation from somebody every day to say, I don't need to hear from my mom every day to know that she loved me, and vice versa. I don't think she need to hear that every day or see that I called her once a week. I've gone maybe weeks or maybe even a month or something like that. But for me, if you pass tomorrow, because of the relationship that I build, I strive to build with people. Me and Soul don't talk every day, but me and Soul, there was a point that me and Soul did talk like every day. But when we stopped talking every day,
You weren't offended?
it wasn't, no, not at all. Me and Soul, sometimes me and Soul will be in the same house, or she leaving the studio or whatever, she won't say bye. Don't affect me one way or the other. Like, okay, oh, you go? Okay, cool, I got you. But when I talk to you the next time, it ain't nothing. It's, you know, it's cool. So I developed that attitude of I think I've developed that not wanting to be disappointed, and like, I'm not going to give you the opportunity to let me down because I don't expect you to do nothing. You know what I mean? So it was like a defense mechanism.
Exactly.
But it
Yes.
works. It works for me. Now, you could get involved with somebody that don't work with.
Right.
You know what I mean? But
you didn't say bye? Oh, it's like that?
Right.
yeah, but I think
Yeah,
we need to be on. I think we need to be on the same page because it got to a point. Me and Soul so comfortable with each other. It's like I don't. If I haven't text Soul all day and I want to text her right now, I'm not gonna say, "Hey Soul, how you doing? How's your day going?" I'm just not. I'm getting to the point. You got some flour I can borrow, or whatever the situation is, you know. But there's nothing there. But I had to realize that not everybody is on that same thing. And a couple people check me like, you, I don't get a, hey, how you doing? Like, oh man, I'm sorry. Yeah, I forgot all the formalities. Because for me, that doesn't define our relationship, and it doesn't matter to me. That's just, if that happens to you enough, like somebody, and even let's just say a guy texts you, hey, how you doing? What's going on? How's your day going? But you know in your heart, he really trying to get to something. I'm just going through all these formalities to get there. If he was direct to say, hey, can I come through and watch a movie and we chill or whatever? You might, you know, I don't know if that's, so is that good or bad? I guess. Let me ask you all that question. Is that a good or bad thing? I mean,
we have a lot, and we talk about this a lot, but I don't think, and this is, I think you said it was a, what did you say, defense mechanism. I don't think it's a defense mechanism. I think it's more self-love. You love yourself enough to, I don't need you to validate me every single day, but I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt of when you do add to my cup, it's an added thing. It's not the ladder of if you don't, then you're taken away from me. That is more my perspective with it, because I think we look for people to validate us, and sometimes, you know, you do want that
Sometimes you need
validation
it.
and appreciation,
Yeah.
especially
From certain
with women. But I think you'll have a healthier relationship with people if you are more direct and not look on the smaller things like, hey, you didn't say, hey, how you doing? Or so leave and be like, oh, why you didn't say bye? But I just spent a whole 2 hours here with you. So you're not looking at
The big picture.
the bigger picture.
Yeah.
You're gonna look at, you didn't say hello or you didn't say bye, but you just gonna skip over this whole conversation we had about, oh, I appreciate you so. Like, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate this record that we done did and blah, blah, blah. So I think it's just how people look at it, perceive it.
And it's funny you say that, because I told somebody one time, they said, you didn't call me and say something or whatever holiday it was or whatever it was. And I was like, you know, and I apologized. I said, you know what? I didn't realize it. That probably mean a lot to you. I said, and so for that, I give you that. I said, but for me, and I explained this to him, I said, but for me, I'd rather have somebody I know if I needed them, that you're gonna be there. I don't give a damn if you call me and tell me happy birthday. I don't care. Your life is going. You got shit that you're doing. You know what I mean? But if I needed you, can I call you? That's what mean the world to me. I don't care if you miss every holiday. If I needed you, are you there? That's the person I want in my life. You know. That's
The book, though, for me, you know, not having a father in my house, I think it's taught me to be more just sufficient, dependent, just independent, and just doing things. I don't rely on anybody. I got a husband. I got 2 boys at home. I can change my tire. I can go whatever I need to get done because my mama taught me that you might meet somebody in your life that is not capable of doing it, don't want to do it. Taught my brother, you might meet someone who can't cook and clean. He did. He married her, still with her. And these are just some of the things that she taught us to be self-sufficient in our life. And people who don't know me, like you just getting to know me, you don't know nothing about me. You know who I'm affiliated with. You know what I do for the youth. This is in our organization. But you don't really know me. So people are going to form their own opinions about you, unfortunately, about what they have heard about me from someone else. But I just beg for people just to take the opportunity and the time and the effort to get to know a person one-on-one, right? Because I'm Felicia. I'm gonna be 100. I'm gonna be transparent. All my friends know. If you wanna know the truth, you better go to feed. Because I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm gonna shoot straight from the hip. But I will preface it with, do you want me to listen, or do you want my feedback?
Right.
Because that's gonna take on 2 different conversations. I'm a great listener. I'm gonna give you feedback, and I'm not gonna tell you what you want to hear, because that's not what I want you to do. So being a product of a divorced family and having to go out and handle my own and be goal-oriented, I think, to your point, it's not always, I wonder what I'd be like if my father was there. I think I would be pregnant at 15. You know what I mean? I think that I would not have graduated from high school. I don't think that I would be a college graduate. I don't think that I would be as successful as I am in my career if my father was there. No shade on him, but he just wasn't built that way.
A lot of, and just listening to you, Juice, I think a lot of it is about responsibility. And for me, responsibility is the ability to respond. And how we respond to things says a lot about who we are. Like when you said, just apologize and be meaningful when you apologize. I personally think apologies are overused and over-accepted by adults. I'm not gonna apologize most of the time because I'm a conscious person. Before I speak to you, I lead with good intention.
No malice.
I don't own how you receive what I gave with good intention. How you respond to that, your ability to respond is totally depicted upon where you are at that point in your life. Has nothing to do with what I delivered because my intention was good. So as an adult, that thought before I act or speak, because you received it wrong, I didn't call you on a holiday. I'm not going to apologize to you for not calling you on Christmas. I'm not. Because if you really know me, you know that my intentions were never to hurt you by me not calling you. You know I don't get into the holidays like that. You could call me any day of the year or send me a gift at any time. And I would be more excited about it than on my birthday. My friends know. They call me like, shit, I wish you happy birthday. You know what I'm saying? Because they know I don't get into that. I don't need that to love me. As well as, our responses to things and to situations that happen in our lives is more, and I don't think all situations are the same. I don't think because you didn't have a father in your life, now you don't know how to be a father, or I don't think that's the case. I think every individual is different. I really do. I don't think you inherit cancer, you don't inherit alcoholism. I don't think any of that is inherited behavior. In that sense, my son's father and his father probably have the best father-son relationship I've ever witnessed, which helped me choose to have a child by this man who's been absent for 12 years, but calls my son around his birthday every year. And I think what made you say, when you said, call your dad, go ahead and I forced my son to talk to his father 2 days in a row this year. My son knows every year, maybe I'll hear from my dad, my birthday coming. He says this. And so this past birthday, my son turned 13. He's starting to feel himself and he's becoming, you know, I have a degree in child psychology with an emphasis on early childhood development. I'm reading the book, The Conscious Parent. I'm really concerned with parenting and children. And so when his dad called and I made him talk to him the second time, Juice was there, one of my other good friends was at my house and my son was on speaker. And it was uncomfortable for my son, only speaks on speaker. I don't let him put a phone on his head. So he's always on speaker. So we let him talk. And the questions his dad asked him, it was uncomfortable for all of us.
Wow.
You know, he like, oh, so now what you wear now, a size 12 or you in a 13 now? I wear 11. I never wore a 12 or 13. You know, so how you like Georgia? I was like, damn, I've been here 2 years. It's cool. I like it. You need some boots for the winter? It don't snow. You know, it was just like, for us, it was like, you know, and you know, for a couple of days, the first time, I say I'm asleep. No, I talk to him. Give him my opportunity. Next day, I talk to him. At some point, it's like, man, I love you too much to make you this uncomfortable for a person that should have said, son, I failed you for 12 years.
Yep.
And I told his dad that when my son asked me, please tell him stop calling till I'm ready to talk. I'm just tired of being lied to. He's not going to ruin my happiest time of the year anymore. I'm not going to allow it. This is what my son said. Every time when I'm not happiest around my birthday, you call me, tell me you're going to do certain things. He said, I feel like a New Year's resolution.
Wow. Wow. 13-year-old?
Goodness gracious. He was 12 when he told me this. You know. And I told him, I said, wow, I'll tell him. You know, when I told him, I said, Antoine, I'm not a bitter baby mama or mother of your son. I don't even like to use the term. I don't get child support. I ain't been to the courts. I don't call you. I don't ask for nothing. Anytime you call, we answer. Anytime you want to visit, you can come. But at this point, I'm grown with him. You know what I'm saying? And it's just really like being responsible for who we are. If you get hungry, you're going to eat. You know your child is existing. You know, so at some point, I can't think for parents that are irresponsible. I don't know how you think. I personally think being an absent parent is some sort of mental disorder. I think that it's a condition that hasn't been diagnosed.
Gotta be.
It has to be. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't know how you think like that. I don't have a friend that's not a responsible parent, which made me write Manhood. I don't have a male friend in my life that's not an active father. I can't become friends or bond with the person that does not take responsibility for their children.
There it is.
I'm not that type of woman. We won't get along. Me and you won't be cool. Because that conversation is going to come up and we're going to fall out.
You're like my mom. When I think I was about like 13 when I was saying that my mom would always say, hey, did you call your dad? Did you check on your dad? Till I was just like, hey, no, I'm not calling him. And then she was just kind of like, okay, I can't make you. I can't. They're starting to see as children, I can't cover for you anymore, even though you don't even as the commitment that y'all made to make that child. And even though he's not having his responsibility, you still covering him when you don't have to as a mother, but you just for the child. But now it's to the point where I can't, because he's making his own decision, and it comes to that point where it's like, ooh.
Because we don't have, we don't have that. I'm like, I don't talk to him about his dad being a terrible person or anything like that. That's not my job. For my son's 13th birthday, my gift to him was 13 men speaking directly to him on camera about this new phase of life. Everybody 1 to 2 minutes. I edited together with music and titles and everything and African proverbs between each one and a title on it called 13 Men. And it's a 20-minute video that he can reference for the rest of his life.
Wow. That's awesome.
That was my gift to my son. Juice was one of the men, some rappers and different brothers that have been in his life this entire time gave him advice on entering young adulthood. You know, so that was my gift to him. You can reference this. I'm not on the video. I'm not talking on the video. There are no women present. It's 13 strong black men talking directly to him, giving him advice on becoming a man. And why is because we had company in the house, you know, and up until Wednesday. Then Thursday, he had boxing and basketball and went skating yesterday. And I think tomorrow morning is the time where he and I can sit. And because it's very intentional. And I didn't want it to be something we do in passing. You know, and he has no idea that he has this. You know, nobody found out. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to watch him watch it, you know, and to hear the advice from these guys, because all of them have played a significant role in his life, and the advice that they gave is, oh man, breathtaking.
He's such a good kid.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm like, I want to meet him.
Right. Really awesome.
He come in here and charm your socks off. That little dude, I'll tell you that. He will come in here man, he will come in here and charm your socks off. I'll be watching like, man, boy.
So they take my socks off and rub my feet. I got a 15-year-old who do that.
All that, yeah.
Awesome.
I taught him well.
So I have one more question, and it's specific, and then I'll open it up to any questions that you all may have, because I'm pretty sure everyone's hungry at this point, and then let Tony get back to his life. But so specifically speaking to you and being a single mom, what does your relationships look like?
I'm protective about who my son sees me interact with on a personal level. My son has only, in 13 years, has only met one person that I actually dated. Two at this point, because I've recently started seeing someone who's a single father with 2 teenagers as well. And we have so many parallels in life as far as our spirituality, our diet, everything is very similar, gardening and, you know, farming and everything. So we mesh our lives without letting the children know that it's a relationship. We just friends. And as far as the other relationships, I'm very cautious as to who I share myself with, period, at this point. So I've gone on dates and to the movies and things like that with guys since he's been born, but he don't meet them. You know, he might see him in passing, but I have so many male friends because of music and musicians and stuff. Wasir, everybody is my mom's homeboy. Until he knows, and I sit and talk to him about that. And my son tells me, like, "Ma, he cool. Like, you ever thought about dating?" You know what I'm saying? Or, you know what I mean? Like, some people, you know, Wasir was put, man, you and Johnny gotta get married. You gotta marry Johnny. And you don't know, like, Johnny is one of my best friends. Tom, I can't do it. That's not even comfortable for me. That's like him coming saying, "What about Uncle Jude?" Huh? You know, no, certain people, but you know, he you know, my son, he's not slow by no means. He knows what's going on. He gets it, but he knows that I have respectful boundaries as well. So I don't have a lot of company at the house and stuff like that. Jews come over, Tariq, you know, be like producers and people that I work with. But beside that, I'm very cautious about allowing people to get close to my son that I've had a physical relationship with or intend to have intimacy with or anything to that nature. But yeah, I protect who he knows.
Okay. Anybody else want to add to that before I move on? Me?
I do the same. I have a separate life.
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't get a chance to meet my children. Just like now, this is my time. I had my son one time ask me, "Don't nobody like you?" And I had to think about it for a minute, because at first I was like, "What do you mean?" But it's because it's like I never see anybody come over to the house or do anything.
Which one was that?
Mikai. But that's for a purpose, because everybody is not privileged to meet my children and be in that energy.
Yeah. And that's anybody, really. Like, I don't let my son meet a lot of people that I know. You know, and then some people, it's important that he does, though. You know, because my son has seen people on lean. My son has seen people on pills because of certain environments. You know, I might be over my uncle's house. And, you know, my pops and my uncles was all in and out of prison and drug dealers and pimping and trafficking. And that's their lifestyle, literally, even to this day. they still are very, very loose with their life, you know, but controlled. in
They're not
certain-
selling drugs though. Let's see them on film.
Right.
Let's
Put
not.
that out there. But you know, their lives, you know, my father was 70 something and he's throwing it in, just through a, what's the little rapper's name, man?
That
Lil Bootsy
yeah, Lil
concert.
Bootsy,
You know what I'm saying? My father is almost 80 and is about to throw an NBA young boy and whatever these young rappers concert is, New Year's Eve, my son's going with him. You know, my dad is almost 80 years old and I could talk to him in 1 week and he been in 5 states.
Wow.
You know, he like, I just came from Mexico, I gotta go over here and shoot to Las Vegas. And that's how they live. So we may be in an environment where I want him in this environment. I want you to see what's wrong with him. Why he keep
Right.
listing pills, son, that these rappers talk about that y'all listen to. That's Molly's and Percocets. That's what he's on. You know, but there's other people, certain places I'm just not taking my son. You know, and y'all can be cool, but you don't need to know you.
That's it.
Don't
You
get
know,
twisted. My
yeah.
kids are not crazy either.
Yeah.
Like, I don't come from the damn bougie type thing.
Right,
They
right.
understand the street life and different things, but physically being close to their mom, like everybody doesn't get that privilege. That goes for men and women.
Yeah.
So it's just a difference.
I think that's just being a conscious parent.
Right.
Some people just take their kid anywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Everybody's
saying?
not for you. That's for sure.
Yeah. You know, but it depends the age the child is at as well. Like my son is 13. He was in 6'5", 6'4" Bar and Grill on Friday night with me last night at 11. But we had to go up there and pick his computer monitor up. He was in the car. But he knows the bar. You know, it's a family-owned bar, but it's a real club at night. You know, but he came in through the back, and I'm like, "What's up? You got cold?" He like, "Nah, I gotta pee." Go pee. I was in a club all my life growing up. You know, my parents owned the bar, so it's important you know how to maneuver in certain spaces and not be easily impressed. You know, because when you're easily impressed, you're easily persuaded.
Absolutely.
You know, so he sees it certain things I want him to see now as a 13-year-old. You know what I'm saying? Like now you can start seeing certain things, and now we can have certain dialogue. You know, because you done heard about the club. You listen to the music. Come on in. You know, look, this ain't nothing.
Right.
You know, and he like, oh, it's music. Yeah. Hookah. You know, right. He like, these waitresses.
Right.
Lord. And then, you know, he comes sometime during the day when I'm there managing, helping out. And he like, these be some pretty waitresses, boy. But at night, he don't see them as pretty because they don't wear the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm nurturing from a different perspective than what I did when he was smaller. Yeah. So it changes, you know.
My last question before Kendra. Darren, what does life look like for you? You have 3 girls. No boys.
I've been living hell.
How old are you?
20, 25, and 30.
Oh, wow.
Let's see, my oldest, she's a special needs child. So whatever she sees her youngest sister do, that's what she thinks she's supposed to do. Now my youngest daughter, she's basically a weekhead. That's all she wants to do is smoke. I haven't seen my youngest daughter in the last 3 weeks, and she lives with me. I can't get her to answer the phone. I can't get her to answer a text. But I will see her post a picture or something on Instagram, which lets me know she's all right. You know what I'm saying? I honestly believe, you know, this is my punishment for who I was back in my day. You know, that's the way I treated her. You know, so like I said, when I had my first daughter, it made my whole life change. I think I tried to make myself a better man. You know, I left the streets. I got a job. You know, doing the 9-to-5 thing, and you know, and from that day forth, I think I've been progressing every day. I find it real hard right now to understand what my daughter's going through, and why she left, and you know what she's doing, and why all she wants to do is smoke weed. And I really don't have nobody to talk to because, like you said, I am alone. I have no women come to my house. Period. No boys, no guys come to my house. None of my friends.
Wow.
That's just the way I am.
You've always been that way? Clearly now you got 3 babies.
Yeah, clearly not. Like I said, once I had my first child,
You feel bad.
my life has changed. Like I said, I used to be a woman. I used to be a beater, a drug dealer, gangbanger. I've done everything. I've been to jail, I've been to prison. See, right now, like I said, I've changed my life. I am operations manager for Tropicana, and an entrepreneur. I own several rental properties. So I feel like I've changed my life a whole lot for the better, and I'm hoping that the things I do, as leading as example, shows my daughter and my nephew, you know, you can make a difference or be a different person. You know, you don't have to, you know, fall in that same cycle as, you know, what you were doing from the beginning.
Are you a granddad?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
No, you said 30. I'm like, any of his?
She's been gone for 3 weeks.
Might be. Right,
There.
okay, wow.
Technically, you are.
Darn.
Well, I'm an uncle, but that's not a granddad.
You told me you had some grandkids from the
I mean,
previous-
okay, yeah.
from the previous.
Yeah, okay, you're right. I am a granddad, but they're not biologically mine.
Okay.
You know, from my marriage, you know, I was married and got divorced by choice.
Do you have a relationship with them still, the grandkids?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. I will stop there. Thank you for sharing from a male perspective. Any questions? Any questions? I know you said you had some questions. Kendall.
If you could pick to redo one of those relationships in the book, would you? Why wouldn't you?
No. If I could pick to do one of those relationships, would I redo them? No, is my answer. I feel like every relationship that I was involved with contributed to my growth, contributed to the person that I am, and was a part of my journey. So I definitely have no regrets over anything. You know, you have to go through the hurt, you have to go through the pain, the anger, the sorrow. Even when we're talking about my relationship with my dad, would I do it over? Ideally, you would want to say yeah, but no, because I wouldn't be the person that I am right now. And the person that I am, I love dearly, you know, and I appreciate and respect everything I went through. And like I said, I have no regrets. So to go back to it would be like a do-over. And then that would be, to me, recreating the person that I am. But I'm trying to move past all of that. Not to take away from anybody in that book, because, you know, like Darren said, you know, some of them have grown and they have changed and, you know, become better men. I would like to think most of them, you know, but that's the past. That's no longer for me, you know.
So I guess let me rephrase it a little bit. Do you see any of these men in any of the men you've dated recently?
So define dating, because
Have dealings with?
dealings with okay. So the question is,
Giving your time
do
to
I see any of the men in my past in anybody that I might
some
have?
of the characteristics.
Yes.
And does that, because of the lessons that you learned, do you see yourself doing things differently? Like, do you reflect like, okay, this was this person and I see they kind of have this kind of characteristics, let me do it this time? Or do you trip up? Because I know.
Or do you just fall back?
Because reading this, I've noticed, like I said earlier, I've done some of these acts before, but I see a lot of this in a lot of the guys I've dated recently, but you're not thinking like, oh, wait a minute,
It's a repeat.
this is a repeat. And you know, they say when you know better, you do it better, but sometimes, same script, different cast, you don't see this is the same person. So how does that, do you reflect back on that?
I do, and I have, and the one thing I can say about my journey and why, because one of the things people ask me is like, well, where's the rest of it? Like, you just ended and that's it. And that's because it's a continuous cycle. You know, life is still happening, life is still going. Lessons.
You tell them that's it, the husband.
Right. Right. But lessons are still being learned. Now, for me, I'm able to now use this as a resource. But do I still maybe fall back into some of the same patterns, maybe make some of the same mistakes? Quite possibly, because you're still, for me, I'm still trying to give people the benefit of the doubt and be like, well, even though you exhibit some of the traits of the hustler, that doesn't mean you're the hustler, you know? Maybe it's just because I'm seeing this that I'm being, you know, pushed away from you. Or, you know, so I'm still learning and growing and dealing with the red flag. Like, I have this thing about when I see stuff that's a red flag, it's immediate, like, no, I already know that I can't go there with you. I'm not even going to entertain it. I'm not going to even think about it. Like, this is what I know I can no longer accept. So I do have those category of things, like, these are things that are deal breakers for me that I would never go back to. And then I have those things that's like, well, I'm not gonna hold that against you. I'm gonna give you a couple more tries to get it right, and see what happens from there. Because I never wanted to be the person that was the bitter, and I'm not a baby mama, but the bitter black female. You know, because this man did this to me. All men are dogs. All men are raggedy. Like, there are no good men out there. I never wanted to be that person because each individual is each individual. So I don't, like I said, I don't want to hold something against, you know, this individual because he might seem familiar. So I, like I said, define dating because I haven't really, like, determine what that looks like for me now. Since I've been out of the relationship with the soldier, I have, you know, I do have dates and go out and try to enjoy life and live in the moment type situations. But I guess more or less for me, I'm not looking. I'm waiting for it to find me. Because that was one of the things I learned through my story, is that a lot of times I was looking for something rather than waiting for God to get me prepared to accept whatever he sent my way. So that's kind of the space that I'm in now.
Thank you. This is good.
Thank you. Yeah, that's it. Anything else? Anybody else?
This has been great.
Thank you.
This is good stuff.
Thank you.
I got another question.
Oh.
Don't you
Okay.
live in one?
But to answer that,
Okay. You're welcome.
we know how to compartmentalize conversations and certain things. People think because we live together and we're best friends and we're cousins that we just. I cannot see Bianca for like 2 weeks because of our schedules. Sometimes we'll be here, but she'll be asleep and I'm coming in, or I'll be asleep and she's coming in. And sometimes just out of support for her, because I want to have this kind of dialogue, I'll wait, opposed to just asking the questions that I could have the answers to. But just as if she's here, people may think she gets facials all the time. She books appointments.
When I tell people that, they be like, I don't get that. It's like, y'all live in a house together, y'all don't see each other. Like,
the
no.
same with me. You live in a massage therapist and so.
So she books appointments. It's
Right.
It's a different.
That's still business.
It's still business. It's still business. So no, I don't. So I've just been asking questions because
I see your
I
emails
was
and everything.
yeah too, because I did get to read some of this beforehand. As I know she's been writing this since time began. So it's been a lot of questions that I wanted to ask, only because I do know some of these people, because I was around.
Right.
But just to see how she plans on growing from certain things and just her perspective, because I mean I know her, but that doesn't necessarily mean I know every entity of her, of what she's planning on doing. But say, hey, you grew up in the Huxtable household, so how did you do this? You know, so it's so many different walks of life that I feel like it's when I told you you were finishing this, it's so much more bigger than, oh my God, they gonna see that I hump these people. No, for real, that was a thing, because people are judgmental.
And it was because it had harassed me for years and years and years. And I'm just like, at this point, I just want to say I finished it. So this conversation and the feedback and responses that I've gotten from other people is what is encouraging me to go forward from here, because I didn't realize that it would resonate with so many people the way that it did and in the manner that it did. I didn't realize that people do share my story or can relate on some level.
But you just never know. You never know where you gonna end up or where you gonna be. Just keep moving. Just keep going.
And Darren, I want to say for you, Darren, you sharing your story and being so transparent, I really appreciate that. Everybody can't be that honest, you know, and that's just real, because you don't think of young ladies out there just wilding out. You just don't. And for you to admit that and to see that, that's over half the battle. Now you just gotta get a strategy to kind of bring them back in. And we're here for you too for that.
So, with that being said, with that being said, I'm not necessarily wrapping this up because we are about to eat, and I definitely want y'all to partake in fellowship after that. But this is kind of, like I said, I just want to thank you all for being here, being transparent. I had no formula for how this was to go. It was just something I had on my spirit that I wanted to do, and just to kind of dive in and go from there. So I appreciate y'all transparency, your feedback. And if we engage some more while we're eating, that's fine. But I just wanted to make sure that I did say thank you. And thank you for your support with the book. Whether you read it or not. He's bought more than two, actually.
Get permission of that last one.
You get permission.
Then I'm going to reinvest it.
But with that being said, as I always do, I am going to, Darren, I am going to put Soul on blast, as I always do. If we can stand up for prayer over this good food of ours, because I love her spirit and what she brings. You touching me? So silly.
Give thanks, man. Because I think everybody's needed.
Absolutely.
You know, we're also necessary in the light of love, in the light of growth, in the light of generosity, in the light of support, in the light of giving thanks, with Thanksgiving just passing, continuing to give that thanks, honor to our ancestors, to the Most High, whatever gods you serve. We ask that they constantly be present in our day-to-day, in our healing, that we interact with each other, knowing each one of us is healing from something, and that we continue to embrace each other's difficulties and to encourage each other, that whatever is in order with our divine is divine for us. It's not always going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. And we give thanks for this moment. We give thanks for this circle. We give thanks for the unity. We give thanks for the support. We give thanks for the love. We give thanks for the light. Just give thanks. And we ask that, like I said, whatever God you pray to, protect us as we leave here. Protect our thoughts, which will protect our speech. And the way that we think and the things that we say will guide where we go. And I just pray that we all go towards the light. We give thanks for Bianca. And we ask that the ancestors continue to cover you, sister, with whatever it is that you venture into next, that it continues to touch the hearts and minds of the people that need you most. And that we continue to contribute our gifts to this world through God's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.